I am Brad Keelor. She is Caroline Haatveit. Find out next on Director's Cut why Rob Schneider will never play her in a movie about her life. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Director's Cut. My name is Brad Keelor. I'm the director of the Geo-Institute, and that is why we call this show Director's Cut. Once a week, I sit down with a different GI member. I am always very excited to do it. It is not an act. And I ask them questions about themselves. Some of them are personal, some of them are professional, all of them are fun. If you do not know anything about the Geo-Institute, you can go to geoinstitute.org, and there, amongst other things, you will find out that we are a technical society with about 12,000 members, most of whom are geotechnical engineers and or geologists. If you like what you see today, and I think you will, click subscribe, click get notifications. We will let you know every time we post something to our YouTube channel. With those very important items out of the way, we will welcome our guest for this week from Oakland, California, from ENGEO, where she is a senior geotechnical engineer. It is Caroline Haatveit. Caroline, I did it again, and we're just going to roll with it. Caroline, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Brad. Happy to be here.
As with every guest, we have 10 questions. There are 2 that we ask everyone on this show, and we begin with one of those. Describe your job in 45 seconds.
So my job, I'm a senior geotechnical engineer at ENGEO. Been working with the company for a little over six and a half years now. I work on a lot of interesting projects in the Bay Area. They range from Candlestick Point redevelopment project, really exciting master plan community, to residential, commercial, all along the Bay Area, a lot of waterfront projects, really exciting stuff in the Bay Area. Also, we have some exciting tech clients. I'm working on the YouTube project, a lot of tech campuses, and it's fun and interesting work here. I'm going to mention later on my favorite geotech challenge. Not a lot of land here that is easy to build on. A lot of fun challenges. It's good stuff.
And this is where I feel like I've never gotten to do this on Director's Cut. I can take a Barry Bonds shot now. Is Candlestick Point, is that a lot of cleaning up used syringes from those steroids that he took? That's my Barry Bonds joke for the day. And
yeah.
So we will now get into the more fun stuff. Sometimes on Director's Cut, we ask everybody to think big, and we're doing that with Caroline today. What is a question that you hope humanity never finds an answer to?
Yeah, I hope humanity never finds the answer to how to automate my profession. And as a geotechnical engineer, we always think like, oh, well, could a robot, could a computer be able to do my job later on? Will I be out of a job? And I think the reason why I'm not, worried about that is because, who are they going to sue if something, falls down, right? So I think fortunately or unfortunately, our jobs are safe for that reason.
So a very serious follow-up to that, though, there is a lot of fear, I think, within the community, at least in North America, about the commoditization of geotechnical engineering. And for a lot of project managers, a lot of construction companies especially, it's just checking a box to have a geotech comes in. Do you feel like there's anything we can do as a community to kind of prevent that or at least slow it down?
Yeah, I think we just need to really show our clients that we're adding value to projects. I think, to be honest about this question, I think there's a lot that we do that I don't know if we could ever teach, like machine learning, teach a computer to do, how to think about all the potential solves for this problem that, a client presents to us and figure out how to, build something in a cost-effective way that makes it safe. So I think we do a lot of out-of-the-box thinking and just trying to remind our clients that we're providing a service here. So I think that's a big part of it, is just really taking the time to explain what we're doing and how we're helping benefit their projects.
I think you probably nailed it with the ethics question. Until somebody figures that out, yes, I would say civil engineering as a whole is very safe from automation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have to ask some questions specific to your life and times in the Bay Area as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is one that came to my mind immediately. Is there an engineering challenge unique to the Bay Area or Northern California that's your favorite, or maybe one that you hate? Maybe it is not your favorite.
Yeah, well, I think it's always funny, like every time I get, hey, we got a call about a project, do you want to put a proposal together? It should be really straightforward. It's never straightforward. In the Bay Area, every time I get a call from a client, it's like, oh, I put in the site, it's like on or near a fault. It's previously, part of the Bay, reclaimed land on a landfill, something to that effect, in urban infill, on a mapped landslide, like you name it. We just have every project, it seems, is, has its own unique challenges and constraints, and we're so overdeveloped, and we're still, we have a housing crisis here. We're trying to do a lot of construction and have a lot of limited space. And so every project has its own weird nuances. And so every project is like a whole new experience, and it's pretty fun to have challenges continuously, constantly learning. So it's good.
Does that mean that if you start doing some kind of site investigation for a project and you find nothing, like, are you alarmed? Do you think, is it to the point where you feel like maybe you have done something wrong if you don't find something initially?
I mean, yeah, kind of. It's kind of to that point. I'm like, no, it can't be this simple. We're on bedrock. No, but I mean, yeah, it's constant new exciting challenges, and always just kind of pushing the envelope, and always being slightly out of your comfort zone, which keeps you learning and on your toes, and constantly trying to be innovative and thinking outside the box. It's good.
That is fantastic. So you have a degree from Cal, and while you were there, you played rugby. You had a glorious but short rugby career, as we discussed a little bit before the interview. What was your most memorable rugby match, and why? My most memorable rugby match was my very first rugby match. So I joined the women's rugby team because my roommate at the time was like, yeah, you should try out with me. I'm like, okay. And so I show up, I try out, I make the team. My roommate just bails. So then I end up. That was going to be my follow-up. That's amazing, because that's how that goes.
Yeah, she bails. So I continue playing. Our first game was against Stanford, and I remember showing up, and I felt like every woman on the other team was like a foot taller than me, like 50 pounds heavier than me. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And yeah, I ended up bruising a rib that game, and I had to sit out for like a few. I don't know if you've ever bruised a rib before, but it was so painful, like breathing, laughing, getting out of bed so I got hurt, and it was a steep learning curve, and my short career, it was short-lived, but it was a lot of fun. It was, got to meet a lot of interesting women, travel to different schools, and meet a bunch of cool people.
I do want to, why does the roommate always bail in that situation? I feel like they talk you into something, and then they're not the one standing there with you when whatever it is comes to fruition. I don't understand why that is. So for the past couple of years, you've been the chapter chair, I don't know if your chapter calls it a president or not, of the San Francisco GI chapter. What was the most rewarding aspect of that for you? I mean, I guess I could also ask, what did you learn from it? But we'll start with what was the most rewarding aspect.
I think I think I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I really liked getting to create and mold this organization into kind of what I wanted it to be. I think it was a little bit of an old man's club when I got involved, and a lot of the events I went to, I find it interesting. I like going to the lectures and talks and workshops, but I think it was really cool getting to be able to we've hosted, women in geotech events, specific panels where we had women, and I got to ask them questions like at different stages in their career. We've had diversity panels, happy hours, just more social events, and we've been kind of changing the demographic of people getting involved. And I think that's been really, really rewarding to just kind of take something, use the framework and sort of make it our own. And, I'm still trying to appeal to, it's hard because you want people of all different, backgrounds and ages and everything to enjoy the events you put on. But it was cool getting to make it kind of our own. So it's been fun, and watching it change has been rewarding.
So what do you think you learned from it? I mean, especially the last 2 years with things being so different. I think a lot of groups around the country, this isn't even a criticism, but they had a little bit of a process where, we have this event every month and we get a speaker and we book it a year in advance and we just roll. Like it just keeps going like that. People show up sometimes and other people show up other times. I mean, that was a massive change for you guys when that stopped. So how did you adjust and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned is how to be adaptive, how to lead a group with, times changing, how to try to motivate people to continue to participate when we're on Zoom calls and not, having, usually our meetings are pizza and beer, and that's, sort of a motivating reason to come. But, just trying to figure out, get creative and how to roll with the punches. It's been a humbling experience for all of us, everything, right? With all the challenges we faced during the pandemic, but trying to, keep members engaged and even board members too, right? I mean, it's hard. Sometimes you're like, oh, I've been on Zoom all day. There's this extracurricular, like another Zoom call, like at the end of the day. So it's been a learning process, and it's been a challenge, but I think we're all better for it.
I hope ASCE doesn't see this and like strike me down or edit it or something. But I think a lot of us at the national level, we were really nervous in the spring of 2020 that like the community wouldn't need us anymore, that people would just say, I don't really need to belong to this now that there are no face-to-face events. I'm going to bail. Yeah. And I think that didn't happen to us. And I don't think it really happened to you guys either at the local level.
No, I think it took us a while to get creative. We had to purchase a Zoom account so we could host our own webinars, and, we had to learn how to do that. And we did trivia night, which was actually pretty fun. And so, yeah, we did things we hadn't done before. And I think our members were appreciative that we stuck with it and tried to keep the community engaged.
Well, we're happy you did. Our chapters are still going strong. Our Puerto Rico chapter started up the other day, and so now we're at 60, a nice round number, which is incredible.
That's
and
awesome.
San Francisco, one of our largest and one of our oldest, and we're really happy that you guys are keeping it going so well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now the second question we ask everybody when they come on Director's Cut is a simple one, but often it has an amazing story. How did you first get involved in ASCE and GI?
So this is very similar to the rugby story, where my supervisor was chair at the time, and he, I think I'd been with NGO about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and he's like, "Hey, you should check out SFGI. You come with me to the meeting." I had no idea what it was about. I'd been involved in ASCE. As a student going through college, but I hadn't really, as a professional, gotten involved. And so I went to the SFGI meeting. It was election night. I got nominated to be the email coordinator for our local chapter. And, one. And, so I continued getting involved in SFGI, and my supervisor was like, all right, I've done my time. I'm gonna, Caroline's here. She's got it. She's running with it. So it was very similar situation where I got
any relation between the supervisor and the roommate there?
No. I think he kind of knew what he was doing and knew that it was something that I could get involved and get passionate about, and probably why he dragged me along. And and the rest is kind of history. I kind of started as email coordinator, did that, and I sort of was basically acting as chair without being chair, and eventually the next year got nominated for vice chair, was chair for 2 years. So yeah, I think this is it must be year 5 for me of being involved in GI. And yeah, it's been super rewarding. I've met a lot of cool people, I've learned a lot. It's been super rewarding.
That's great. And it wasn't a pizza and beer story. A lot of them are pizza and beer at the ASCE undergrad chapter. And so it's inspiring that it involved one of the professional chapters. So that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So another question we have to ask you is about community colleges. You attended a community college before you went to Cal.
Yes.
And this is unique and a great story, I think, for our members. So I wanted to ask you, what role can community colleges play in workforce development, specifically for the geotech profession? I think this is often one thing that gets overlooked. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts about community college because I thought it was awesome. I thought I really learned. Classes were smaller. When you're transferring from a community college, sometimes the college you transferred to doesn't recognize, your course that you took that's basically identical to the course we have is not transferable. So I had to retake some when I got to Cal. And, the lab portion of some of these classes, I would go to the lab at Cal, and not to talk bad about Cal. I think it's a great school, but the lab was sort of more, because of the size of the class, you couldn't do all of the steps. So I'd kind of show up to the lab and everything would be kind of set up for me, versus at community college, I would have to get into the nitty gritty. And I feel like I really learned more, setting it up, kind of going through the motions and figuring it out, and not having everything sort of prepped for me. That said, there wasn't any soils engineering classes. It was a lot of more of the mechanics of material, static, circuits, all of the basic classwork that I took. So I think, for the geotech community, I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't do a soils lab class to get people involved in geotech earlier. I didn't even know I thought I wanted to be a structural engineer when I was, at the community college level, and it was kind of through coursework once I got to Cal that I kind of figured out, actually, I really am interested in this soils class that I'm in. So I kind of naturally kind of fell into what I'm doing. But I will say, I mean, I did a lot of learning at the community college level, and my teachers there were great. The lab was super hands-on, and yeah, it was a good experience.
So, every time a structural engineer switches to geotech, an angel gets its wings. Just so you know. Words to live by there.
Yeah.
Not that there's any kind of rivalry or anything, but that's just dropping that fact out there for everybody.
Yeah.
So this was the question that we teased a little bit in the opening of the show. I said that usually when I ask a question, it's one that I've thought about before. I had never thought about this one before, and you, Caroline, were the fortunate recipient of this question.
Yay.
Who would star in a movie about your life? But that's only part 1. Part 2 is, which actor would you not want anywhere near your life story that you think would just desecrate your legacy?
Right. So, I mean, I was joking with you earlier that Timothy Chalamet would play me because he's in every movie right now, right? And that Rob Schneider could have nothing to do with my life story. But then, I mean, maybe we were talking about, that he kind of plays very similar roles every time. Maybe a female engineer, finding her way through the industry would be a really good breakout role for him. Maybe that's his comeback. The comeback we didn't know we.
He just hasn't gotten that call yet.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten that call. So
I am happy that you didn't go with anybody that has A Rock or The Rock or anything like that in their names, because I feel like that's the easy choice here, right?
That definitely is an easy choice, but
another one who's everywhere. That's
right.
I hope somewhere somebody sees this and casts Rob Schneider in that role. Then we'll truly feel the impact of Director's Cut throughout the land.
Definitely.
So when this airs, it is, of course, Women's History Month. Yesterday, for everybody who's watching this, when it comes out, was International Women's Day. We have to ask you a question about this, too. As everyone knows, geotechnical engineering is largely a male-dominated field. GI's membership is over 90% male. What has been the most challenging aspect for you of starting out your career in a male-dominated field?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of advantages. So I'll address both. I think one of the bigger challenges for me has been trying to, find who I am in a room where I'm the minority, And for me, I always feel like I need to kind of put on this front. Like, I'm a very warm and friendly person, but I have to I feel like I need to kind of put on some prove myself, kind of, you know what I mean? Sort of some armor. I'm always you're guilty until proven innocent, for lack of a better, just to make sure I'm I need to figure out how to gain the respect of the individuals around me, and then I can be my goofy, funny, whatever personality. I don't know why that, but I noticed this recently. I'm oh, this is kind of what I do when I'm with people, men that I haven't worked with. I feel like I need to prove myself before I can kind of, be myself, which has been kind of a frustrating thing. And I'm trying to do less and less of that as I've been progressing my career. I think it was more of a mechanism when I was in the field as a younger, staff engineer. You do a lot of field work, and you're in construction, and, you're definitely the minority on a construction site. It's definitely getting better. So I've had to, that's what I did. And, I still do it. And when I catch myself, I'm no, just be yourself. And I think, kind of being able to have the, I've had a lot of experience now. I've been working in the industry for 7 years. So I can feel like I can speak to the recommendations I'm giving. And even if someone fights back at me, especially in the field, you're just an engineer, you don't know how to build stuff, kind of stuff. You don't know how it's built. I feel like I can say, hey, well, this is where I'm coming from. This is my perspective. And so now I feel like I have the grounds to kind of, you know what I mean? I had the experience to back that. So I'm doing a little bit less of the wearing the armor, so to speak. So that's been a challenge. But I will say, I think an advantage has just been, just coming from a different perspective. I think a lot of people recognize that, the more diversity, the more people you have and their different backgrounds coming at a problem, the more angles you're going to see it from, and you're going to come up with probably the best solution, because, one person is coming from their perspective, another person from their perspective, and the more diverse of a team that we have to solve a problem, the more likely it is we're going to look at it from all different angles and come up with the best solution. So I think that's been really advantageous, is recognizing, my perspective is different from someone else's perspective. And even if we're not talking about, male, female, just when you're in the field, me coming from, an engineering perspective and someone else coming from a constructability perspective, and, having the structural come in from their perspective and the civils come in, it's just the more people you can get involved on a team to solve a project and collaborate, I feel like it always comes out being the best solution. So I think that's been great, just recognizing diversity and from all sorts of perspectives, like education, background, all sorts of things. The communication style.
So in your 7 years, do you feel like you've seen changes? I mean, I've been in the workforce, I guess, about 20 years now, and I've definitely noticed big jumps across in many sectors, I think, but especially, especially we'll say the STEM fields in diversity. Do you feel like you've seen it in a shorter time?
Absolutely. I think, it's not even that long ago I was a staff engineer. I think I was the only female staff engineer in the office where I was sitting, not like in our company when I started. And now, we hire so many, female staff. And I think it's just because more kind of getting in the industry. And so we're kind of limited to, the pool of people that are, qualified for the position. They've taken all the coursework and everything like that. And I mean, I think just overall, there's more women, and I think the way, just mentoring these women that come in, I think things are changing. I would say the construction industry on the whole has a lot of work to do, but I think just the amount of allies and people that are talking about the issue has increased, and that's helping so much.
I think the professional societies certainly in the past several years have started to do a lot more, whether it's GI or the drilled shaft contractors or Deep Foundations Institute, and that has really helped to push the issue too. So hopefully making progress every day. So we have one question left, and the last one is always, not always, but usually some storytelling. And I thought, lived in the Bay Area all your life. Bay Area's got some fun places. Berkeley's fun. San Francisco's fun. A lot of crazy stuff happens in those two places. Oakland can also be wild and crazy, as much as people don't want to maybe necessarily acknowledge that. What is your craziest story? It can be San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland, whatever. Something you feel like you would only see there.
Oh my gosh. Well, so our Oakland office is situated on a 5-way intersection, and we have these massive windows that look out onto it. And so we just see crazy happenings like on a daily basis. I mean, we get a lot of protests coming through there. We get a lot of parades coming through there. We've had the Warriors parade when it happens, when they win. It's a block away, and we just get to literally walk a block down and just participate in this, it's just so fun. But yeah, we see a lot of crazy and interesting, a lot of almost collisions happen outside of our window. We saw a high-speed chase come off the freeway, so that's been fun. There's a guy who regularly walks around with his boombox and plays music for us outside of our window, and we open the window and we get to enjoy that. So there's just a lot of fun happenings just like right outside of our office, which has been really fun. Go ahead.
One of my favorites, it happens here too in DC, but are the full-time protesters. There was a guy in San Francisco during the Clinton administration who would walk around with a sign that said impeach Clinton. And then as soon as Bush was inaugurated in 2001, he changed it to impeach Bush. It was amazing.
That is amazing.
I love that kind of thing. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun having our Oakland office just right downtown. There's just so much, going on outside to kind of see and experience and be a part of. It's like, well, in the pandemic, it's been a little bit different, but it's a vibrant place to be. And, especially, at the very beginning of 2020, with the protests and right now, because of the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been a lot of really, really beautiful, street art that's just everywhere. So that's been really cool to be a part of that. And just, if I go on a midday walk, we are, back in the office, and, take a walk around downtown Oakland. It's beautiful. Like, just the amount of murals and street art everywhere. It's really cool. And it's just really blossomed actually during the pandemic. So that's been really cool.
So there is your endorsement. The next time, viewers, that you are traveling to the Bay Area, don't forget about Oakland. Head over the bridge, or you can fly JetBlue and go right into Oakland, I believe. So do that.
Yeah.
Spend some time in the East Bay. It is a wonderful place. So Caroline, you survived all 10 questions. You made it through Director's Cut. It was a great experience, I think. It was fun. For our viewers, again, if you enjoyed what you saw, and I think you probably did because you're here at the end, click subscribe, click get notifications. We will let you know every single time we post something to the YouTube channel, which is frequently. Caroline, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
I love it when the guests say it was fun, because then I don't have to say it was fun, and it means maybe they actually had a good time. So all our viewers, thank you for sticking with us for another week, and we will see you with a brand new Director's Cut in 7 days. Home Alone 2, he was good in Home Alone 2. Waterboy. Muppets from Muppets from Space. He was in Muppets from Space. I feel like this is a great list. Wow. Oh man. Yeah. I can't believe he's still working.
Is he?
Yeah, he's got a movie coming out called Home Team. I want to know who sits down, like what producer sits down and is like, you know who'd be perfect in this? Rob Schneider. Like I can't imagine that.
Well, I mean, who's to say he can't play like a female geotechnical engineer coming into her own? Maybe that's the role he was born to play.